It's pretty obvious the Bruins had a trade for Linus Ullmark to the Kings, and he shot it down with his no-trade clause. And then he goes out and plays very well on Saturday against the Penguins, and they beat the Penguins. And I don't know if you saw this particular goalie hug with Swayman and Ullmark after the game. And Vinny, you can cue it up for the simulcast audience. It's from a tweet. It's from Matt Porter of the Globe, I think. So it's there was a little more mustard on this hug, and it was obvious that Jeremy Swayman was pointing to the ice and pointing to Linus Ullmark as if to say, this is your spot. You're not going anywhere. It got a big cheer. This hug lasted a little longer than most, a little more meaningful than most, because Ullmark didn't want to go anywhere, and he made sure that he didn't go anywhere. So now Linus Ullmark is here for the duration, and he sort of talked about it after the game. He'll talk about that particular game against the Penguins and his thoughts on Swayman. Jimmy, number 4. Let's hear that one if you could, please.
Well, like I said, there's no easy games, but there's going to be some games you're going to take with you a little bit longer, obviously, and you're going to keep it a little bit in the memory bank, and you can pull it out from time to time. So same thing there. I got emotional as well when Sway said all these nice words to me, and I would have done the same for him if he was in my shoes. And it's tough to talk about, but like I said, I'm just so gosh darn happy.
Okay. They tried to trade him.
I'm
glad he's
happy.
Yeah, no, that's what, I'm just glad these guys are happy. You ever worry, Mazz, that the Bruins are too happy?
Yes. Yep.
Like they're too comfortable down there? They like it too much?
Yeah. Look, I worry about that with people in general and athletes in general. But yes, and I'll tell you, there was a comment too, and forgive me for throwing this at you now. But in one of Ullmark's comments, he said, this was really hard on me. It was difficult to play this game. There was a lot of pressure, almost like the playoffs. And I heard that and went, oh, so this is why he sucks in the playoffs. Like so you get really anxious before the playoff games, and I'm thinking, then what did you come to Boston for? And why were you so eager to come to Boston? Although he needed the no trade to do it, you didn't think you'd be in playoff games and you get anxious? Like that scared me when I heard that part of it.
Jimmy, number 2. Let's hear that one, please.
Oh, thank God, yes. No, it's tough. I mean, you try to act tough beforehand. You don't want to show anything. You want to show any emotion. It's kind of like in a playoff situation as well. But it is tough on players. And this is the first time when I have to go through and actually being rumored about. I've always felt safe, at different. But then once it actually starts picking up more and more and more, you hear those outside noises. It takes a toll on you, and then there's this emotional part of it, and then you start thinking about your family, and then there's all these questions that you just don't have any answers to. So, yes, I am very happy that it's over with, and I'm very glad and happy to be here.
Were they going to send him to, the front lines of Ukraine?
I was just going to say the gulag.
Seriously.
My God. God, today's athletes really bother me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Los Angeles for a couple months. You'd be a starting goalie on a Stanley Cup playoff team in LA.
So, Mike,
a couple months.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I'll tell you what I'm more pissed off about now. The Bruins had to give this guy a no trade.
This is inherent throughout the league, though.
Mazz, do you know that everyone has no trades? Any big contract comes with a no trade clause in that league. I mean, look, it's ridiculous, but I really think it's more of an NHL problem than a Bruins problem. But go on.
Well, so he was in Buffalo. They gave him 4 years and $20 million. And at that time, when the deal was announced, we said, who's this guy and why do they need a goalie? We said that at that time. So why did the Bruins have to make the sacrifice to get Linus Ullmark in here and give him a no trade on top of it? And I understand what you're saying about the league problem. But now you've empowered a guy that didn't need to be empowered. Like, to me, this is they've gotten way too liberal with all these little perks that come along with the contracts. So you're getting the money. That's what the deal is. The trade-off is we get to do what we want with you if there comes a point where we need salary cap space or we have a young goalie that comes up. We'll make an attempt to work with you on where we can send you. But if the guy can block out 16 of the teams in the league, well, where the hell are you going to trade him?
I'm just telling you, everyone has him. I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm just eyeballing it right now. Vasilevsky, no movement clause. Connor Hellebuck had a no movement clause this year. Darcy Kemper, like even that guys that are not that good. Darcy Kemper, no movement clause. Varlamov, no movement clause. Marc-Andre Fleury, no movement clause. Bobrovsky, non-movement clause. They all have them. It's like
it's ridiculous.
It's stupid. The whole league. I'm telling you, it's a league thing. It's not a Bruins thing. It's both. I mean, it's both. But you weren't going to sign him without giving him one of those because the next team was going to give him one of those. That's just the way it goes in that league right now. The GMs have been giving those things out like chiclets for years. It's stupid.
And okay, so I guess I would say is someone else is going to give it to him. Let them. Like,
yeah, I would have.
Is that too much for me to ask? He was good last year. Don't get me wrong. He was terrific in the regular season. But it's not like it's had any real enormous difference on your ultimate destination as a franchise or a team. And you did have a kid in the minors who projected very well in Swayman. Maybe he wasn't quite ready a year ago, although I would argue that he was. And you could have found another way to handle it. Now what? What do you have to do to get rid of him now?
So, you got to find one of the 16 teams that he won't go to, that's not on his list. His list drops to 15 teams next year. You got to find one of those other 17 to send him to, or else he's not going to do it because he's too happy here. And this is like, it's a fine line, right? We talk about places where players don't want to be. You know, maybe they don't want to be in New England right now with the Patriots, or they don't want to be Red Sox, and they're having trouble drawing players or making it a destination. Well, there's a flip side to it, where your players are too happy and too comfortable. The Bruins player, no one wants to leave. No one ever wants to leave. They don't want to let anyone go. And even when the guys leave, they bring them back. And they're thrilled to come back. All of them, from Milan Lucic to Danton Heinen, they all come back. They never want to leave. The team never wants them to leave. It's like, boy, you're all a bunch of happy campers for a group that hasn't won squat in a long time. And it's like, maybe it's just a little too comfortable there. They're a little too happy there. Because certainly, it doesn't look like Linus Ullmark's going to be the guy now. It feels like they've given up on the goalie platoon already. Like that, good job, with the goalie platoon, everybody. So it's like, no, it's going to be Swayman. So Linus Ullmark has to see that. The Kings want him. He's probably going to be a starter there. So instead of going to L.A. to start for a team that's in the Stanley Cup playoffs and be the guy, he'd rather stay here and back up. Just collect his $5 million. Kids are comfortable here. Wife's comfortable here.
It's the safe space on Causeway.
Hey, they're happy. They're happy and comfortable. I guess I would be too. You don't have to win anything, and you got a job for life, and even after you leave, they bring you back. No one wants to leave. The team doesn't want him to leave. So it's just a big happy family down there that doesn't win anything. It's the damnedest thing. But I think they've taken there was a time that it wasn't the greatest environment, wasn't the greatest place to be. The Jacobs weren't the best to work for. So they had to change it. And Neely really changed it. When Neely became president, whenever that was, 2010, 2011, he did change it because he came from a player's perspective and he understood. Coming off of Harry Sinden's regime and Michael Connell's regime, they had to make it more player-friendly. They might have taken it a little too far. Because no one leave. It's like your kid living in your basement. Like, it's time to go. It's time to leave. And no one wants to go, including the goalie.
Get the hell out of my house.
That's enough. Go get a job. It's time for you to go see the world. All of you. But instead, they're going to have a goalie sitting there like a blob for $5 million on the bench. Hey, but at least he's happy. I'm glad. I'm glad he's happy.